Welcome back, everybody. Round 2 started so quick that Liam and I weren't even ready for the players to start. So we're going to hop right into game as we have two people who see the stream quite frequently here. We are going to have Charles over on the left-hand side. He's going to be playing that 5-color Dragon Landfall deck, and Akira over on his Boros, Yorion, Caretaker's talent deck. Liam, these are all the decks we just played the minigame about.
Perfect. Yeah, and they're going against each other. Be very, very interesting to see sort of an unconventional matchup here.
Yeah, things are definitely going to be a little bit awkward here, as we do wind up having a bunch of Sunken Citadels on Akira's side, but Voice of Victory and Caretaker hit the table, so Tokens deck doing the Tokens thing. Meanwhile, on Charles's side, we had life totals going up and down a little bit with some of those new Fetchlands, and a Risen Reef has hit the table as one of those ways to just spew extra value on the board, but Akira's getting in there super aggressive early on. 4 damage coming across on turn number 4.
Yeah, it's interesting because this Boros deck has, in a lot of matchups, takes on the controlling role, but in this matchup, it looks like, especially with the draw that Akira had, is very much going to be the aggressor. I think I saw an Elspeth too, which is a card that can set up a lot of like one-turn kills with the zero ability, which like jumps your entire team.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, can't buff the mobilize tokens before they attack, so that's you know, a few less points of damage it represents, but this is still a very wide board with the Overlord.
Meanwhile, Charles here setting up his lands. Looks like maybe playing that new Fetch land, but needs to figure out what kind of color he wants to get first. I know that because Charles's list does have 5 colors in it, a lot of the cards that we're going to see are going to be a little more akin to like a Niv to Light style deck. I know that Ill-Timed Explosion is one of his choice board sweepers in the deck. So, I mean, that would look pretty good at this board. Otherwise, there's like basically 2 attacks worth of damage left in Charles's life.
Yeah, we'll see if Charles has an answer to the Elspeth, or maybe he can do a proactive thing of his own if he can set up, you know, the Dragonback Assault going to be like the namesake of this deck is going to be a very important card against these wide board of tokens. Probably the most important card in Charles' deck for the matchup, if I had to guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we just see buying of the Yorion. Sky Noodle, also part dragon, is, I guess,
no way.
Fits in with that. I think I said that so confidently, and now I don't really know.
I honestly have no clue.
If it was a worm, oh, it's a bird serpent? The
I
heck
actually
is this?
did know it was a serpent because that came up for me at one point in a really funny way. I forget exactly how.
All right. I mean, it looks like a dragon. It screams like a dragon. It's a bird serpent.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how much damage is this?
Let's see here. We have 2 in the air, 4 on the ground, 5, 6, a lot. But we end up having the Risen Reef chump blocking here. Players have not updated their life totals yet, but I think Charles is basically on did I draw board wipe or is it game 2?
Yeah. Needs one of those ill-timed or Dragonback Assault. Both pretty safe because it's not like this Boros deck has like counter spells or anything.
No.
Have to play it. Yeah, and they're just like sorceries anyways. The passive on Voice of Victory not making a huge difference in this matchup. Mostly just making a ton of tokens. And actually, it made double the tokens on that attack from the Elspeth.
Oh yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Even Akira is calling for the Dragonback Assault right now, so we'll see if Charles has it. If that's the case, that will wipe everything on Akira's board.
Okay, that could be ill-timed.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, now Charles just needs to have the second part of it, which is enough mana value in his hand to kill everything. Which at this point is, I guess, only 3? Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like it does not hit Planeswalkers, though. So
no.
Elspeth will survive, and the Overlord is still ticking down.
All right, so Omnath getting discarded will deal 4 to all of Akira's board. Most importantly, Charles has been able to draw 2 cards and then has discarded 2, so just a quick little rummage effect. But passing the turn back to Akira with a ticking down Overlord and an active Elspeth and now an Enduring Innocence, Charles needs a bit more of a miracle here.
Yes, yeah. Needs to just keep drawing gas. Looks like has the X burn spell in play, so potentially if he can manage to survive 1 turn while developing like an Analyst, because he has assembled a lot of lands in graveyard, maybe he could eke something out, but it's going to require pretty specific set of cards to do so.
I think Analyst, like you called out, Lumra is something that's like a pet card for Charles, so if that's in the list, I mean, we have Charles fanning out 5 and 2, neither of which are Lumra mana, but we do have double Whirl. Oh, Lumra's in hand, Whirl Soul's Rage, Growth Spiral, and the Yorion. And it looks like we're tapping absolutely everything. So this is a World Soul's Rage at the Elspeth. How many New Capenna Fetchlands are we getting back, and is that enough to survive?
Oh yeah, each of these gaining 1 life.
Just
Oh wait,
3.
it looks like we're... So World Soul's Rage returns how many lands to play?
However many you paid for it. We see Charles paying a full 5 here, so that World Soul's Rage should be bringing back 5.
Okay. So yeah, that will be a decent amount of life. Wait. Hand or graveyard onto the battlefield tap. So yes, so just leaving the New Capenna fetches in the graveyard and tutoring for them. Just a shortcut here.
Yeah, just quickly shortcutting that. So we're gaining 3 life up to 9. We have a bunch of lands entering the battlefield. There is a Port of Carfell here for Charles, which another pet card for Charles. This one works very well when you have Lumras together because they'll just keep bringing it back and you can just find all the lands in your deck and make many lands big Lumra.
Wow. Limited All-Star coming in clutch here. And here we see, yeah, it looks like this is just going to be enough damage from Akira, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, maybe not. I thought for a sec Charles was scooping it up. He's actually just organizing his bountiful mana. Yeah, I'm not seeing 9 from Akira. It is a pretty important dynamic here. Or it's crucial if Charles had the Dragonback instead of the Ill-Timed Explosion, he would have an incredibly wide board of 4/4 flyings right now and would probably win the game on the next turn. So just showing like how incredible that card is in this deck.
Oh yeah, basically built for it.
Yeah, it is actually the perfect card. The more I think about it, it's like, wow, that might really send this deck over the top.
All right, Akira cracking in here for a total of 4, I believe. 2 from the Innocents, 1 from each of those tokens. So Charles should go down to 5 here. Akira should be going up to 22. We have this ticking down Overlord. We have a Caretaker's talent that got leveled up here from Akira, actually. So looks like that this is just going to be creating a copy of that human and threatening to kill Charles next turn.
All right, so this is the big turn for Charles. Let's see what he can assemble. He gets to untap with all that mana.
All right, so Charles, basically all the mana in the world. We know there's a Lumra in hand too, so that represents at this point with 4 New Capenna fetches in the graveyard, Charles can effectively go up to 10. The downside is without like a Splunking, and there's no Amulet in this format, all those lands are going to enter the battlefield tapped afterwards.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, Akira's at 22, so it's going to be hard to assemble a lethal World Soul Rage unless we do some like wild Carfell loops that I'm not really 100% sure how that would even work. But you know, I've been wrong before about that sort of thing. Like definitely sneak a win out of nowhere. We could, if we develop, you know, if we develop Dragonback Assault now, I guess we survive. Or no, we still need to answer this Overlord.
Yeah, the Overlord did come off of him pending an end of turn. We both missed that one as Akira has enough game pieces over here to basically make a copy of Betrayal at House on the Hill or something.
I have not played that game, but
I just picked the first Wizards board game that popped into my head.
Well, that description says it all. And yeah, Akira going to be drawing 2 cards and gaining 3 on end step with this Caretaker, or drawing 1 card, but making an even wider board. So it's gonna definitely be representing a lethal attack depending on what Charles can assemble in the way of defenses.
All right, well, the first thing he's got is a Lumra, which is going to, like we said, pop all those New Capenna fetch lands. It milled 4 cards. It looked like one of them was a Virtue of Strength, just straight out of the old Teamer Analyst deck there.
That's the classic.
Yeah. All right, so this Lumra finding basically at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's all the remaining basics in Charles's deck, but if a Lumra bellows in the woods against Akira's board, does it present a win?
Bellows.
This is a bear.
The classic profound philosophical question. That's a good question. It might have to do with this Carfell. I don't exactly remember what it does, but I know. I mean, if we do have all the lands in our deck, what we're looking at with all these, Capenna lands in the graveyard are just 1 life per land, and like that is pretty relevant. But I know a lot of these analyst decks way back when were playing above 60 lands in their deck because, or above 60 cards in their deck because you basically needed enough. This exact situation would arise where you like run out of cards, run out of basics to get with your new Capenna lands. But if you're at just 60 and you're playing a lot of basics, then like proportion-wise of your lands, you get fewer of the lands that are actually good. So if you just like increase your total deck count, you get to play more of the Capenna lands based on the ratios.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's what Charles is doing, but regardless, we have a lot of lands in play. So.
And we know that Charles has his Yorion in hand, so we know that his deck has a lot of extra cards in it, but which combination of them it is kind of up to question here. Okay, Charles, end of turn, is just going to wind up playing this Yorion instead. It looked like he was potentially thinking about a Ports of Carfell angle, but it looks like we're just going to wind up playing that, blinking Lumra, and now Lumra's going to gain us a ton of life.
Yeah, it looks like we have 8 life, so yeah, it's not quite a lethal attack. I wonder if we have a second Elspeth, if that would make it lethal again. But Lumra having reach, and Yorion having flying as well, so the Overlord can always get, eaten by this Lumra. And yeah, this is a spot where like sort of the fair plan that the Boros deck is doing, could just like fall a bit short when the lands deck is going so far over the top and has access to so much more mana every turn.
Yeah, Charles, I want to say at the start of that turn, Charles was at 5, and at the end of this turn, Charles was at 16.
Yeah, I think it had at least 10 life there.
Oh, man. All right, so what, Overlord, we have a couple of humans on the ground. We have this Caretaker's talent that could level up and give us another Lord effect, but like you also mentioned, this Elspeth in hand could put a +1/+1 counter and flying on everything.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're really just looking for targeted removal spells for these 2 threats, because these threats can be repeatedly copied and like recurred with these ports, but having an exile or removal spell here means that Charles needs to find another way to, gain that 10 life a turn without Lumra.
Yeah, and now with that March of Otherworldly Light coming down, we have a clear path for this Overlord of the Mistmoors to swing on in. That's going to wind up putting its best Grave Titan pants on, and that's going to wind up putting in 2 more insect creatures onto the battlefield. But this Yorion is just going to be on chump blocking duty, so Yorion hits the graveyard. No damage comes across to Charles's face, but I mean, Akira's drawing cards off of the Enduring Innocence and decides not to level up the Caretaker's talent here.
Yeah, this is interesting. I wonder what is in Kira's hand. I would have expected like a level up Caretaker's angle and then try to, alpha a bit more there. I mean, can always level up next turn and is still representing lethal unless Charles, can find a way to recur all these Capenna lands again. And maybe even if he does, this is getting all these tokens will get +2/+2. And there'll be a new one from the Carrot Cake, in addition to whatever Akira is like slow rolling by leaving up all this mana. So
the most intimidating Lotus Cobra in the world has hit the battlefield with a fully stocked graveyard, and I believe there is a Lumra in there as well. Looks like Growth Spiral is now going to be the play, so Growth Spiral could represent getting just an extra mana or 2 off of this Lotus Cobra. Most importantly, though, this is just a draw card effect for Charles, who only has 1 other card in hand.
Yeah, so I wonder, one thing on Akira's turn, I don't actually remember how much mana Charles had up, but there was potentially a window to Field of Ruin, the Port of Carfells.
Ah, that's true.
But at this point, I believe Carfell can be activated at instant speed, so at this point, if you try to go for that, then the Carfells could just be activated in response. So potentially missing window there, depending on how many lands. It's possible that Charles had just left up enough mana to activate it at any point, but...
Ooh, Charles started out a Cavern of Souls, a second Lotus Cobra. Yeah, there's 1 card left in hand. Don't quite know what that one is going to be, but Akira has... flicking those Field of Ruins very furiously there. All right, so...
Take another look at Port of Carfell.
Oh, yeah, I grabbed that one for you.
Yeah. Nice.
This one is basically going to be what Charles is playing for. I think it has to sacrifice as part of the cost.
Yep, okay, so yes, this can be activated in response to a Field of Ruin. And we could be looking at the Lumra.
I think we have
a lot of it.
Yeah, we have a Lumra, we have an Omnath. A Risen Reef. I don't know if that's as intimidating as the other big sounding ones here. But we have a decent number of targets in Charles's graveyard, and we have 2 of them. So, and I think Charles is lining up. Do I have all of the mana that I need? He has cracked 2 Fable Passages. I personally would be very surprised if he has any basics left in his deck.
Yeah, I can't imagine he does, but I mean, these getting back a bunch of lands with these Cobras, you know, I'm not really sure you need the extra mana here, to be honest. It's more about the life and the landfall triggers.
I think Charles just failed to find.
Oh, yeah.
He was just shuffling up his deck right there, and that's not a legal game action unless something has forced you to do so.
Right.
And those 2 Fable Passages are in the graveyard, and I don't see any untapped lands coming in off of that.
So it looks like we might have actually had 3 Field of Ruins, but the fact that this is, you know, just an instant speed ability means, yeah, there's no way we can just activate it here. It's not like the Field of Ruin can stop this.
All right, so Port of Carfel is getting activated. We found a second Lumra for our graveyard as well. So if Akira had some sort of instant speed exile effect from the graveyard, I mean, it still can work because you have to target a creature. Oh no, just return a creature card from your graveyard. So yeah, you don't even have to.
And mill is nice too because we start adding to the, you know, Capenna land count. Like we've gotten all the basics out of our deck, but there still are a lot of Capenna lands in there. So the more we get into our graveyard means that every time we do a Lumra loop, the more life we gain. And it looks like we're up to 22 now.
Yeah,
so,
we're just even. Charles is just like, you know, 5 is not dead, and now I'm just gonna match Akira's life total. We're basically related at this point. Like, and this Lumra also getting power and toughness equal to the number of lands that you have. Oh, Charles also, every single one of those Lumra lands that came back floated mana for those landfall triggers from those double Lotus Cobras. So we bought back, we gained 7 life and had 2 Fable Passages. So we're floating at least 18 mana.
Yeah, we are getting close to that Lethal World Soul for sure.
Akira just torching the tower on the Lumber for 2 damage, because why not?
Yep. Really, yeah, wondering what is in Akira's hand still. We see the Yorion and 1 mystery card at this point. What could that be, and is it anything that can answer this?
I need to double check. Lumra makes the things come back into battlefield tap, so I think without having a spelunking type effect, you can't do the Carfel loops with double Lumras and just go to infinite life. Yeah, they will enter the battlefield tapped, so.
Wow, a World Tree. Something that could potentially, I'm not sure are there any gods in the deck?
I think the World Tree is legitimately just making everything painless mana confluence. And
oh yeah, that's actually pretty good with the Capenna lands, huh?
Yeah.
You could respond to the trigger by floating a mana.
I think this is a Dragonback Assault that winds up coming down here from Charles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's wiping the board.
Oh, it's an Areni, it looks like.
An Areni? I don't even know how to spell that one.
Oh, so there's multiple dragon cards in this deck now.
That's definitely something that I didn't know about from Charles's list. So that's something new for me.
Extremely thematic Teamer deck. All right, so we're activating some Field of Ruins, it looks like, to deal with the Carfels. So we're down to 0 Carfels, which means you know, the loop, quote unquote, is stopped unless we have like literally any way to get one back, in which case it continues to chain with Lumra.
Yeah. Damn, this Ureni is powerful in this deck. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna deal, what is it?
Yeah, I just cleaned up.
I'm like trying to count here, so there's 6, I'm gonna say 7. So it basically cleared Akira's entire board, and not leveling up that Caretaker's talent last turn. Come back to bite him a little bit, because everything was 1 toughness.
Yeah, although at this point we might just be in the spot where Akira is looking for a Sunfall. The dynamic has flipped such that Akira is on the back foot and might need a Wrath. I don't know, which could be effective because Charles doesn't have that many cards in hand, and the Port of Carfels are gone.
Yeah.
So there it is.
All
yeah,
right.
Maybe that is what Akira was sandbagging a little bit there, or maybe it was a top deck. Hard to say.
Well, Sunfall's also going to get a pretty large incubate token here. I want to say it's at least 4, if not 5, coming down here off of this.
Not bad.
And that's going to be a token too. So when you level up that Caretaker's talent, you're going to be able to pump that one up. Any additional Caretaker's talents, you're going to be able to copy that token. It's also going to wind up drawing a card off of her Enduring Innocence because a token entered this turn, or a creature entered this turn.
Off the...
I think that's off the
Caretaker.
Yeah, off the Caretaker.
Yeah. That's very nice. The incubate tokens triggering Caretakers has just made Caretakers plus Sunfall combo in standard for since both cards had been released. Okay, got the Elspeth. Has Akira managed to navigate this into a spot where he's caught Charles gassed out?
I mean, oh man, I thought Charles was scooping for a second, but he just has so much mana.
Yeah, no, that's the second time I'm invaded now by that as well.
All right, so Akira basically doing the best reconstruction that he could from getting wiped right there, and that's the Dragonback Assault.
That's the Dragonback Assault, but there's no follow-up. If our last card is Lumra, we basically win on the spot, but I'm not sure it is.
All right,
or Analyst.
Yeah, Analyst would also be very powerful because you get back that Port of Carfell.
Yeah, just any way to,
World Souls Rage gets it back too.
Oh yeah, this has got to be good enough. I think we can point this, anywhere. We can point it at the Elspeth or face. Doesn't really matter. But the important part here is all these lands that are coming back.
All right, shoots the Elspeth. 1, 2, 3, 10 dragons, says Charles.
How much mana if he had just played that, hard cast it instead of doing, I guess it probably wouldn't have been lethal. So yeah, going Assault into Word Soul, just saying, hey, you need another Sunfall.
Dang, all right, 10 dragons. We have 40 power on the board. I guess the one positive thing for Akira is that Charles could not give them haste, so we're going to get lost the Dragonback Assault, but...
We just gotta dig for the Sunfall and... Oh,
temp lockdown. All right, so these dragons are 4/4s, but they're 0 mana cost. So temporary lockdown cleans it up.
Wow. Just drawing the cards exactly when he needs to, or just deploying them at the right times. Hard to say without player hand cams. One thing that has been a little tough for Akira this game is I don't think there's a Fountain Port in play. I don't know if that's the cost of playing Boros is you don't get to run Fountain Port, or if he just hasn't drawn one. Maybe because his deck's 80 cards.
Yeah, that happens.
It's the Orion Mirror. Is that correct? It's the Orion Mirror? Yeah.
Yep.
So, I think there's been a couple spots where the Fountain Port would have been nice to help us dig, and a single activation draws 2 cards on this board. But he has been able to find the key board wipes at the key times, and we're in a spot where Charles is pretty much in top deck mode. That being said, he does have a Port of Carfell still, right?
All right, are we just gonna do it all over again?
Yeah, I think we're still going. We don't have we don't have a way to capitalize on these landfall triggers anymore, though. So.
Oh, but we hit the one of Kenrith, which we're not actually bringing back. We're bringing back the Lumra instead. Okay.
So we don't have the Lotus Cobras, so we can't do the Port of Carfell loop, but we can, just gain a bunch of life. Port of Carfell. We still have the second Carfell, right? So we could get Kenrith with that.
Yeah, because I'm wondering here. Kenrith. I mean, we're going to give our Lumra Trample and Haste, and I don't think it's enough to kill, but it's enough to put Akira down to fairly close to dead.
Yes, I appreciate the bailout. I definitely did not remember what all the activated abilities on Kenrith did. But.
I mean, this is basically, it says it's a mono white 5-color commander that has a bunch of irrelevant text most of the time, except for the one I remember is red Trample and Haste.
Red Trample and Haste, and that. Yeah, I mean, how big is this Luna?
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to adjust my glasses really quickly. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Wow. And to give himself Trample and Haste too. Is this just enough?
So this is 19 plus 5. It's 24, so we have to block.
So are we going to 1? Well, we guess we have a removal spell as well, but that's a removal spell. The trample still happens. Did he just go to 1? I mean, low confidence that our math is correct.
Yeah. So it looks like Kenrith also could put +1/+1 counters on this
Oh,
Lumra.
wait. No way. And has the ability to activate it exactly once with this one. Oh, wait, no, he can reanimate something as well.
Yeah, it looks like, what are we reanimating though here?
So, Yorion?
No!
Okay.
We're gonna blink it!
Nice, nice. Okay, that's a bit of sick tech right there. These...
Damn.
Wow.
This, I'm not going to lie,
ambitious.
between the Kenrith and all of the game actions and how many pieces on the battlefield, I forgot that this isn't a commander game at this point.
I know. Can you imagine also that this is game 1?
Yeah, imagine if we get a full 3.
I-
No wonder why
starting to
last
doubt.
round went to time.
Yeah, I'm starting to doubt it. But honestly, there's been what, like 2 or 3 instances where we thought Charles was scooping, but every time has just like fallen back, and then there's been like multiple wraths on both sides.
Yeah.
Charles has both cast the Dragonback Assault and the Ill-Timed Explosion, and Akira's cast a Sunfall and a Temporary Lockdown
Yeah, and
in one game.
Let's not forget, this is what the board looks like after Charles board wiped Akira and had 40 Power of Dragons on the battlefield 2 turns ago.
Truly incredible. But this time, what Akira has to find something again.
I mean, he's got a Yorion. He has.
It's true. It's true.
He has some moths, but with trample, that's not going to do a lot. Like, what do we have in hand here from Akira? This is 5 mana.
So if we answer if we answer Kenrith, like we can just go into chump blocking mode. Is Charles hellbent?
I think so.
Okay.
And he's tapped out, entirely tapped out, so
So-
we can't activate Kenrith in response to anything.
Yeah, I think the name of the game is finding an answer to Kenrith then. Because if he untaps with the Kenrith, he is very much not hellbent.
Yeah. All right, we're drawing 2 cards here, one from Enduring Innocence, one from Caretaker's Talent. We have a Carrot Cake that will gain us some life in a pinch, but I don't know what else we drew from Akira's side. And if it's not like a Get Lost on Kenrith.
Yeah, it appears that Charles untapped.
Yeah, it was Fable the Mirror Breaker Carrot Cake.
Wow. Yeah, not having that fountain port to dig deeper.
Oh, main deck High Noon.
Nice, it is a main deck High Noon. Okay, not the most important match for
Not
matchup
right
for
here,
it.
no.
Wait, couldn't it have killed? No, it couldn't have. Yeah, it couldn't have killed Ken. He was tapped out, so he couldn't have put any counters. Couldn't you just go like High Noon sack it, pointed at Kenrith?
I think he drew it off of what he did with flipping with the Yorion. He's 1 mana short of doing that.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's what it comes down to. Wow.
Oh man, I think Charles has the skinniest remaining library of a Yorion deck I've ever seen. But after game number 1,
Yeah.
that was
Wow.
a hell of a match to analyze. All right,
That was great.
good luck
Wow.
figuring out side.
Oh my gosh, this is tough. This is a tough job. I'm now realizing. Wow. Okay, so to start with, like, what do these decks even play? So it looks like, in a weird way, the Dragonback Assault, yeah, most important card for Charles, even after the Wrath has happened. So Akira probably wanting to keep in, you know, the Get Lost and all that sort of stuff. The white decks often play. What do they play? I mean, they play stuff like Beza. You're going to want to probably get out. That's like for an aggro matchup, and stuff like the Analyst deck. Bringing in, you know, accepting that they're going to be a bit more of the controlling role, especially against this deck with like Voice of Victories. So let's see here. We got.
Yeah, we have Charles's deck list that he had messed. This is a week or 2 old. Not 100% sure if this is everything he's running right now because I saw the Virtuous Strengths in the main deck and they're not on that list. But I'm assuming his main deck or his sideboard is fairly similar.
So we got 2 Reclamation Sages, which of course is going to be very good against this basically like enchantment deck. Blowing up a Caretaker's Talent is going to be pretty potent, and even doing some potential trickery, I don't know, like recurring a Reclamation Sage with Carfell, looping that a bit maybe, like could really do some damage to Akira. The Pyroclasms I'm very curious about, because you wouldn't think to bring them in this matchup because they're not like a traditional aggro deck. And you might still not, like the Voice of Victory does have a 3rd toughness, which is pretty effective against Pyroclasm. But the way that played out, especially now that Charles is on the draw, if you can't just go over the top, maybe it's worth it to put those in and just try to survive. Negate also just an effective card against, you know, a Caretaker's Talent deck.
Yeah. From the Caretaker's talent side, considering it is basically an enchantment tribal deck, I'm assuming as any white deck is probably running multiple copies of in your sideboard, when you see what Charles's deck is doing with Ports of Carfell and Lumra, you're thinking you're reaching for those rest in pieces pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, basically, when a rest in peace comes down, it basically demands the Rex. Another reason for Charles to bring in Rex Age. And I'm not sure how much else Akira has in the way of disrupting that sort of thing, because it's like you're a white deck, you don't have access to like, you know, counter spells. The high noons don't do that much against like this lands sort of deck. So yeah, those legend pieces are really critical.
And even your choice of splash color in red doesn't have a lot that can combat those things that Charles has been putting on the battlefield. Like maybe you're keeping your Torch the Towers in to kill like a Nissa or a Lotus Kerber to slow Charles down. But I know that when Akira sat down, we heard him talking very quickly on the camera saying, I don't want to play against your deck because his deck wants to be the control-y style deck, but we saw he was the one that had rest in peace right off the bat. He was the one that had to play more aggressive before Charles could set up, and even when he did, it wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, the Caretaker's decks, classic poor matchup into combo decks, and I think after what we saw last game, it's unambiguous that this Dragon's deck could be classified as combo.
All right, so we have a Cavernous Souls on Elemental from Charles' side here, and Splunky's going to hit the battlefield after Caretaker's talent, so both of these decks kind of have their engine cards online, but most importantly, Akira's got the one that shuts off Charles' loop.
Wow, I'm noticing now that this spelunking in conjunction with the world. I was sort of like thinking about that world tree I saw. Spelunking plus world tree in conjunction with the new Capenna lands is like netting you a lot of mana because it's letting the basics enter the battlefield untapped, and the world tree is letting the Capenna lands tap for mana before they sack. So if you can assemble that could be, I mean, one of the many powerful things you can do that's not reliant on the graveyard.
Meanwhile, from Akira's side, though, we see just a quick casting of the Wandering Emperor end of turn. He's going to wind up taking down to create a Samurai that triggers a Caretaker's talent to draw a card, and there's that Fountain Port, so now Akira has his card advantage engine online.
Yeah, key difference from last game. That's going to keep the cards flowing a lot more easily. Wandering Emperor, I just want to shout out, is one of my all-time favorite designs. This card is a masterpiece, like everything about it. Like the power level is perfectly dialed for the formats it was targeting. The abilities play so well. It's innovative. Like each ability is like, you know, the perfect slot for what the effect should be in that spot. And the gameplay is so interesting. The fact that it can play in like the sort of mid-range deck as a flash threat that's effective against aggro decks, or in this case represents a lot of tokens that looks like they're getting through away, unfortunately, but having to take on the aggressive role, the Emperor being a flexible card that allows Kira to do that when he has to.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are a big fan of the design of the card, both from a mechanic standpoint, but also from an artwork standpoint, as that one unfortunately is going to hit the bin here. We had the leveling up of the Caretaker's talent, making a ton of different things. This High Noon did stay in here, Charles' Dragonback Assault clears the board, did tap out for that one, but now this is going to present Charles in conjunction with that Rest in Peace. This really slows down Charles' deck into like a one thing per turn, and if Akira can answer those landfall cards one by one, that might be what the white deck needs to grind out this game.
Yeah, I could see that. We could also just be, you know, sacking this High Noon to deal with Omnath that way.
True.
Like it could just be a removal spell if necessary. So yeah, because this Omnath represents a lot of mana, life points. I mean, if Akira looks like, you know, the ship maybe sailed on Akira having a start that pressures Charles's life total.
Yeah, had a lot of answer pieces, but not a lot. I mean, the proactive piece was turn 4, and it did put 6 power of tokens on the battlefield. It's just, you know, that was also Charles's window to basically just say, cool, I'm playing land, go. And like you said, he is the control deck in this matchup.
Yeah. And I'm also interested here to see if Akira, you know, sort of recognizing what happened last game and taking an opportunity to deal with the Port of Carfell with the Field of Ruin. I mean, it's tough, right? Because you could always just reanimate the Port of Carfell with one of your many... it could almost play into Charles's plan by putting a land in the graveyard, but also if he doesn't have something like that, and he does have a Lumra in the graveyard, you know, you want to be able to answer that Carfell while Charles is tapped out. So that's something that Akira might want to keep an eye on.
All right, so one thing that is working against Akira this game is I saw here, well, we have these dragons coming down from the Dragonback Assault because Charles is just playing these fetch lands.
Yeah.
He could still play 2 lands per turn with these fetch lands, so he's getting 2 dragons every time he does that. Akira in his hand has 2 copies of Settle the Wreckage.
Interesting. So it looks like he doesn't view himself as the aggressor in this matchup. Really looking to control things. That explains the high noon. And yeah, especially because this rest in peace, you know, turning off the whole Carfell thing, so that doesn't even really need to be scared of that, and making it so that this Dragonback Assault is really plan A for Charles. But it is an effective plan.
I'm more concerned about what happens when Akira settles the wreckage on these tokens, and then
Yeah.
Charles just gets to remake them.
Right,
with his
that's a
Landfall.
phenomenal point. Yeah. Yeah, settle the wreckage. Yeah. A little surprised to see that brought in considering that, but I hadn't fully thought that through either.
All right, so we have a bunch of things happening on the battlefield here. We had Virtue of Strength hit the battlefield for Charles, so now everything is basically going to be tripled, and at the same time we just had a swing coming in from these dragons, so that is going to put Akira all the way down to 10.
Okay,
and
yeah.
now Akira's really hard pressed to find some sort of answer to this board.
Yeah, really just needs the Sunfall again, but even then, you know, the Dragonback Assault is still going to be in play. I mean, we could, the one thing that the Settle does do is it does, you know, fog.
Good old 4-mana fog.
Yeah. So there's that. But, I mean, it also, you know, maybe Akira's thought was just like, hey, Charles ran out of basics last game anyways. So it doesn't really matter that I'm furthering that in that respect. So that's kind of interesting here. But yeah, I think the fact that Akira just had a lot of pieces like Hiding and Rest in Peace, which could potentially be effective. Rest in Peace definitely shutting off one potential game plan, but making it so that just like this board of creatures requires, Charles is just gonna keep them around.
He just untaps all of his tokens. He's like, I'm gonna make this many as well. Akira's saying, I'm gonna do something really funny, Charles, and then does it again. So basically, fogs Charles, but I don't know. You're saying you were singing the praises of the Wandering Emperor. How do you feel about a fog effect that lets your opponent put basics onto the battlefield for each attacking creature? Design fail or flavor?
Well, I do actually love Settle the Wreckage in that it leads to so many incredible moments and like blowouts. Like there's like the famous LSP pen trick and stuff. Oh, we just like.
You just showing the World Souls Rage.
World Souls, I think, because are those? Did they enter on tap?
Lumra.
Yeah. Plus the Omnath is gonna get all its triggers. Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be tough for Akira, basically, no matter how you slice it. And,
and so with that Virtue of Strength on the battlefield too, Charles just points to it. Akira says, "Do you have 9 lands?" He's like, "I only need 4." So it's going to be 9 damage going to his face.
Looks like that's it. Oh, this Elish. Yeah, there could have been a world where that could have done things, but Charles actually already up a game before this, despite the graphic. So it looks like
that's just gonna be it.
We actually aren't going to go into extra time as we may have feared after game 1.
Yeah, Charles just finishing that game a little bit quicker and winds up taking that one in 2-0 fashion.